So it's been a while since I filmed a video on the Belgian FIFA scene, and I think now would be a good time to make another video and give my 2 cents on the current discussions. The discussions are mainly about the Royal Belgian Football Association, or the RBFA, and their new FIFA campaign. The RBFA set up a campaign to guide talented amateur players and help them become more professional through the academy that they set up, but they also let them team up with professional e-devils. And I think as the current FIFA scene is very closed off, I think this was a good way to discover new talents and probably help them become more professional. The first part of their FIFA campaign is selecting the right players. That is done through 4 qualifiers, of which some will go through, and that they eventually will team up with the pro players. But now also pro players are participating in these amateur events and basically blocking the RBFA's goal of finding new talent. Unfortunately, the communication of the RBFA was not ideal, and I think there have been some misunderstandings. But also, if you look at the article properly, it also says it's meant for non-pros, and they will work together with the pros in the later instances. Feel free to pause the video and read some of the segments, or read the full article on the website of RBFA. I'll make sure to link all of those downstairs as well, down in the description as well. The tournament or campaign that RBFA is organizing for non-pros or amateurs gives out better prizes than the Belgian FIFA esports competition, the ePro League, does, and that's also a part where the problem began, I think. Now, RBFA is not the one choosing the prizes for the ePro League, as far as I'm aware, so in that case the ePro League and the eRed Devils or eDevils should not be compared, or these campaigns should not be compared to each other. However, they're the 2 biggest esports, FIFA esports competitions in Belgium, or at least the ones that get the most attention probably, so they will automatically be compared a bit. Some ePro League players are still upset though, because they can't get those better prizes from the RBFA tournament, and they still try to register under a different name because they know the system is flawed and can get through that way. Of course, it's not RBFA's goal to upset any of those pro players or ePro League players, but it definitely leads to a lot of discussions. I also tweeted about it and had a lot of discussions with it, with people in DMs especially. So I'll also try to explain their arguments in this video. In the next parts of this video, I'll explain basically their arguments, but also why I don't agree with them. I'll show some DMs on video as well, but most of the people prefer to have it anonymously, so I'll keep the DMs anonymously for everyone, but the public tweets I'll of course show you who they're from. The first argument that a lot of people have used is that they are not a pro, because what is a pro in Belgium? We've seen many tweets about what is a FIFA pro in Belgium, and some of the ePro League players are trying to participate with the RBFA amateur tournaments because it's not clear what it is. And when they say that it is, they say that basically I don't have a good contract with my club, I'm just an amateur with a shirt of the club or those kind of things, so I'm an amateur. To me, that doesn't sit right. Another message is that you're only a pro if you're making a living out of it, but I also think we have to be harsh there and say that's just not true. I think you can be a pro gardener or you can be a pro football player without it being your full-time living. For example, if Messi quits Barcelona for now and joins another club in a few months, would he not be a pro footballer in those few months? To me, he would still be. Maybe it's not the best example, but it shows you at least a bit how I see it. The other part of it that I don't like is that a lot of people tend to advertise themselves and call themselves pro or a very professional FIFA player with a good team, good pro tactics, all those kind of things. But when it comes down to tournaments, they're suddenly an amateur. When they want to participate in pro tournaments, they say, oh, I'm a pro, so I'll participate in this one. But it comes to amateur tournaments, they say, oh, I'm not a pro anymore. So they're just a pro whenever they like it, and that's something I really don't like. Now, for me, what is a Belgian FIFA pro? For me, it's a bit difficult, of course, because there's no good definition for it. But a Belgian FIFA pro, for me, is someone that is either signed to an organization and getting some rewards for that. It doesn't have to be a full-time job or anything, but it has to be signed to an organization, or you're signed to a club and are participating in official tournaments, such as the ePro League. And yes, the ePro League is Belgium's official esports league for FIFA. So I think it's a huge advantage that those players have. They're the only 18 in Belgium that are selected to participate in this tournament. So I think it's a huge, huge sign that you're one of the best players and you should be seen as a pro. To be honest, I don't have a clear definition of what a Belgian FIFA Pro is because I think it's very hard to define and there is no clear definition of it. But it also is because it's mainly very depending on who uses it. Not a lot of people know about this scene and know how to describe everything, so giving it labels is very hard. And that's why when organizing a campaign like this in the Belgian FIFA scene, it's very important to communicate clearly. And I think, yes, RBFA could have communicated a bit clearer here, but I also think that ePro League players knew that this was not a tournament that was meant for them. That's why a lot of them did not register, or some of them stepped out of the tournament once they once they did understand it, or someone made it clear to them. However, there's some others that also knocked out some amateur players that now maybe could have gotten some attention, and I find it a shame, and I find it a bit sad of them, to be honest. Another argument that ePro League players are using is that it's unfair for them to be excluded and they should be able to participate in amateur tournaments because they need the help from RBFA just as much and they need the media attention just as much as any other amateur. Again, I have to disagree because ePro League players, as I said before, they're one of the 18 that are selected in the entirety of Belgium. There's hundreds, if not thousands, that are jealous of that are wanting that spot that they have right now. And it's something that some can only dream of. So this is a lot bigger of an advantage that they have than being able to participate in these qualifiers, in my opinion. As an example, we have Keanu or Emenu Merci, who is one of the best players we have in Belgium. I think because of the way the ePro League is set up, he hasn't had a chance yet to prove himself or has shown himself to a bigger audience. But I'm going to be very bold and say that if he did get that chance, he would probably be in the playoff spots right now. And he would have had a lot more media attention. The ePro League is a competition that is probably getting the most mainstream attention throughout the year. They get on TV, they get on YouTube, whatever, but it greatly outweighs all the advantages that are in these E-Devils campaign right now. So I don't think that's right to call it unfair that you can't participate in this one, but you can't participate in the ePro League. It's a way bigger advantage. If we look at the ePro League players and how much attention they're getting versus how much attention they actually could be getting, I think it's not a lot at all. I think it also has mainly to do with themselves and it's their own fault because there are so many opportunities in this very small world. And this small world is the Belgian FIFA scene or industry or whatever you want to call it. So I think if you're very consistent, you work hard and do things outside of the box that no one else is doing, I think you have a fairly good shot at becoming one of the big boys in a fairly short amount of time as well. A great example of this is Zak Bentato or Zakaria from Anderlecht, the pro player for Anderlecht. I think he's doing a lot of big things that are way bigger than anyone else is doing. He's going on TV talking with politicians about esports. He's growing the Belgian FIFA esports scene by himself, and I think that's very, very respectable. Yeah, you can say he has had some years of time to do this, but in those years of time, he also built up this foundation by himself and he did some great things. Yes, Anderlecht is giving him the opportunities to do it, but he also created them themselves. So you have to really look up to that as well, I think. Another part of the pros feeling treated unfairly is because they can't make a full-time living out of it or they want to earn more money from it. They say they sacrifice so much for little to no return. And, well, yes, that is probably the case for some, but they also need to realize that there are some things in this world that they also need to keep in mind, and that is that this Belgian FIFA industry or world is very small. Also, they're playing for football clubs that are not esports organizations, and they are businesses. Then they also need to think about how little money is actually being made by all the participating esports organizations in these campaigns. I think then you also need to think about your value to the club and what they can offer the club, how much that is worth, and only then you can expect a certain reward from it. If you think that's the equivalent of it, and you can also say that to the clubs, I think that you will find the right reward for it. I'm not going to go too much in depth about that because it's something I talked about before and I will probably talk about separately again as well. So yeah, I think that will be it for now. I'm thinking about having like a podcast style conversation with people who have the same opinion but also different opinions. So it'll be very interesting. We can do that on Twitch. So if you don't follow me on Twitch, By the way, follow me twitch.tv/ArrneM. I'll also put a link for that in the description below. But yeah, thank you for watching. It's been a bit too long for what it should have been, but yeah, I appreciate all of you watching, and ciao.